Hey guys, great to see you on another episode of Code This, Not That. Hope you had a great weekend. In today's episode, we are going to take a look into Console.log. Yeah, right, you heard me. There is much more to it than you can imagine. To start with, did you know that there is a provision to apply CSS properties to your logged message? Quite interesting, right? So stay tuned. So just to apply some styles, you can have this placeholder here and we later take in the CSS properties that we pass here. I'll apply some basic styles like text shadow property and font weight so that it stands out quite well. Now what we can expect is a pretty site rather than some boring console messages. So let's switch to our terminal and here you see it. So where does it come from? All these font styles, padding and the text shadow property, it gets applied to the text after %c. So that's what you see here. Now let's bring in the inbuilt styles. There are some of the inbuilt console methods which have their own style. Now that's a wide range of possibilities compared to your day-to-day console log, right? Now let's take a look into them in action. As you can see, all these methods are being displayed in different ways. So is it just a simple style update? The answer is no. Once you play around with the default log level, you can view precisely what you want to see in your console. This might come in handy in large scale applications with logger mechanisms that rely on console methods as underlying properties. Also, there is an assert method that is quite similar to error, but takes in a boolean as a first argument or some function that ends up as a boolean. The second parameter is the array message that you want to be displayed when the assertion fails. Now it only outputs for failed assertions. Now coming to this console, you can see that the assertion failed with the following error message. Now let's take a look into other useful methods. Console.table is the next in our list. Let's provide an array of elements and displace them in a table with the index. As you can see, the values are populated along with the index in the left side. If you take a look into that array itself, it is being displayed just below the table. So there is also a provision to have array of JSON values or whatever you feel like converting it into a table. You'd find it actually useful when dealing with a large array of objects. It provides them as a table with key as the column name. Also, now if you look into it, there are two field names that takes in the key as the column name. If you take a look into it, there is two properties. Now there is a provision to define which columns that you have to display here. Also, now if you pass in the second argument as the array of column names to be displayed, now it is only shown in this console, but the values remain the same. Now let's say we have a function called greet. I'll write this function which returns an appended value to the passed name. Now console.count method allows you to calculate the number of times a person is greeted. Now I'll just greet 3 times with Hari, Raj and Hari. So the console.count, I pass name as the label so that if you take a look into the console, it shows that Hari has been greeted twice and Raj has been greeted once. By directly passing his name as the label field, the count method shows only his particular number of greetings. If you want to show the number of times the method has been called, you have to simply hardcode the label value or leave it empty, which resolves to the default value. Now let's step up a notch. For instance, you have some kind of big query operations and computations in a function. In order to identify the performance, you have to solely depend upon the time taken. This could be done using console.time method. Now all you have to do is put the console time end at the end of the function. Now it returns the time taken for the function to complete. Now you could fine grain your function logics based upon this performance. Just like the count label, every label field related to console methods are optional and has a default value Also, this default value could be reset or cleared. Now that looks like quite the amount of console methods, right? There is still a lot more to it, but I don't want to flood you with methods that we might not use at all. So for now, let's take a look into the Chrome console itself. If you take a look into the left, you have a side navigation pane that allows you to filter the messages in console, just like we did with the default level dropdown. This shows where this console is running, and for me, it's the live server on the local host. Also, you have an option to filter for certain values if you got lost in a pile of console messages or console tables. I'll just filter for yellow and it is going to bring up the table, and it is actually available for all the methods, whether it might be the array of JSON data or anything, it will bring it right to you. Now if you take a look into the settings pane, you have an option to hide the network. So what does it mean? To show that, I'll just do a fetch to a request on random API that doesn't exist, and it will right away throw the error. Now this is what could be suppressed using this checkbox. Also, it shows that one item is being hidden. Now also we have a provision to preserve logs even on refresh. Quite not sure what its use case is, but it's just there if you need it. It will show the console messages for every item that has been run in this particular localhost. There is an autocomplete feature that is turned on by default. Now, if we write a method in console, it will try to show you the autocomplete features. Say for instance, I'll just instantiate a local variable and it is going to be a function. Now, I'll just save this function. Now next time if I try to write the same function, the autocomplete feature right away kicks in and show all the available methods for that particular variable. Now let's try to turn it off, and if you try to run it again, it won't prompt you with the auto suggestions. I'll just turn it on for now, and if you see there comes the auto completion again. I'll just put it something right there. The one item that is hidden is nothing but the network call that we just hided. So I'll just take in that and it goes right off. So if you like this video, do leave a like, share and thumbs up. And if you find it informative and for more such content, subscribe to my workbench. Until next time, this is Suren signing off.